All right. Well, good afternoon. Thank you to everyone for joining us today. We're going to talk about the right to repair, which in simplest terms means just what it sounds like. When something you own breaks, you should have the right to fix it yourself or take it to an independent repair shop. You might ask why we care about the right to repair. President Biden knows hardworking Americans care most about kitchen table economics, and having the basic right to repair electronic devices alone can save families $400 a year on average. We'll hear today how the basic right to get a product repaired can also save farmers thousands of dollars when their tractor breaks down, and can create opportunities for small independent repair shops to thrive. From smartphones to wheelchairs to cars to farm equipment, too often manufacturers make it difficult to access spare parts, manuals, and tools necessary to make fixes. Consumers are compelled to go back to the dealer and pay the dealer's price or to discard and replace their device entirely. So it doesn't only cost consumers money, but it also prevents independent repair shops from competing for this business, and it creates unnecessary waste by shortening the lifespan of devices. Research suggests that the ability to repair consumer electronic devices could save American consumers nearly $50 billion a year, reduce the nearly 7 million tons of annual electronic waste in the US, and support small independent repair shops. President Biden's call to action on the right to repair in his executive order on promoting competition in July of 2021 jump-started a growing swell of activity. Now federal agencies are taking action to make it easier and cheaper to repair things you own. State legislators are passing laws across the country, and the private sector is making voluntary commitments, from companies like Microsoft to Apple. I'm joined today by Chair Khan of the Federal Trade Commission, which voted unanimously to ramp up enforcement of right to repair provisions, taking on cases affecting grills and motorcycles. I'm also joined by Deputy Administrator Janet McCabe of the Environmental Protection Agency, which issued a letter earlier this year affirming their support for the right to repair, including for farm equipment, and its compatibility with protecting our environment and the Clean Air Act. I'm also joined by Tom Perez, Senior Advisor to the President and Director of the Office of Intergovernmental Affairs, along with a bipartisan group of state officials who have all successfully passed right to repair laws in their states. States like California, Colorado, New York, and Minnesota, and 30 states beyond those have introduced right to repair bills. Today, the administration is calling on other states to follow suit and for Congress to pass national right to repair laws. Today, we'll hear from Apple, which endorsed the new California law. Under the California law, companies will have to make the parts, tools, and documentation needed for repairs of consumer electronic devices and appliances available to independent repair shops and consumers at fair and reasonable prices. California's new law will help ensure consumers and independent repair businesses alike have the resources available to safely repair their devices in a manner that doesn't compromise their privacy or data security. And today, Apple is announcing they're going to do this nationwide. That means whether you're in California, Maine, or Michigan, Apple will make the parts, tools, and documentation needed to repair your Apple products available to you at reasonable prices. And Apple is also calling for national right to repair legislation. We'll also hear from Danny Wood, a Colorado farmer, who will share how a lack of robust right to repair laws can cost farmers thousands of dollars when your tractor breaks down. And Heather Walsh, who runs a small business in Minnesota, will share her observations about how promoting the right to repair is important to ensure independent small businesses aren't shut out of the market. Finally, we'll hear from Allstate on how consumers and businesses stand to save hundreds when they can utilize aftermarket parts. This is a bipartisan issue that resonates with people all over the country. So with that, let me turn to White House Director of Intergovernmental Affairs, Tom Perez.
Thank you so much, Lael. I think I should be getting on here in a second. Trying to get my video on. Okay, there we go. So sorry. Good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you are. I'm Tom Perez. It's an honor to be here. I serve as a senior advisor to President Biden and director of the White House Office of Intergovernmental Affairs. And in prior chapters of my life, I worked in local government in Maryland and state government in Maryland, and I had the privilege of leading the Civil Rights Division of the Justice Department. And so I spent a lot of time on consumer protection issues. And consumer protection is about putting money in your pocket by making sure we pass common sense laws and regulations that protect you against practices that do no good for you and do a lot of good for folks who are trying to profit off of you. And consumer protection, I've learned through the course of my experience, is at its best when we build an ecosystem, a consumer protection ecosystem, a combination of federal actions through the alphabet soup of regulators, state actions, local actions, and we have responsible corporate partners like we have here today on this presentation. That's the ecosystem that works best, and that is why we are having such success. The president in 2021, with his executive order, really provided us with a call to action on expanding the right to repair to protect farmers, consumers, and the environment by making it easier and cheaper to repair the items you own. Lael, my friend and colleague Lael outlined, frankly, 50 billion reasons why we should be doing this. And I want to say to everyone on this presentation, thank you for what you are doing. The state work that's being done is remarkable, ranging from farm equipment to medical equipment to phones to laptops. All would promote competition by making it easier for individuals to make repairs themselves or use an independent repair shop, which expands choice and access and lowers costs. We're so honored to have the elected officials from 3 states, Colorado, California, Minnesota, including my good friend, the Attorney General Keith Ellison from Minnesota, who's been a consumer protection champion throughout his tenure in that office. I really appreciate the corporate executives who are participating today, because again, this is about building an ecosystem. This is about building momentum, and the work that you're doing in Colorado, Minnesota, California, and elsewhere, and the work that's being done in those 30 states that have introduced this legislation is enabling us to build that consumer protection ecosystem so that we're protecting people. We have their backs. That's what it's all about. And for state leaders who are interested in learning more about the right to repair, please consider our Office of Intergovernmental Affairs to be a resource. Among other things, we work with our state and local partners on a wide array of issues, and we often convene meetings that focus on particular issues. And this is an issue that we are paying close attention to. So thank you so much for being here today. And I'll now turn it over to Hannah Garden-Monheit, who's Special Assistant to the President for Economic Policy and Director of Competition
Partners in our all of government efforts to strengthen and support the right to repair. First up, we're going to hear from the Chair of the Federal Trade Commission, Lina Khan, and then we will hear from Deputy Administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency, Janet McCabe. Chair Khan, over to you to talk about what your agency has been doing on these issues.
Great. Thanks so much, Hannah. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks so much to Director Brainard and the White House National Economic Council for facilitating today's convening. And thanks so much to Director Perez and Deputy Administrator McCabe for their key efforts in this space. Changes in technology and more prevalent use of software has created fresh opportunities for companies to limit Americans' right to repair their own products. As both the FTC's work and public reporting have documented, companies all too often will use a whole set of restrictive practices, including limiting the availability of parts and tools, using exclusionary designs and product decisions that make independent repair less safe, and making assertions of patent and trademark rights that are overbroad. These types of restrictions can significantly raise costs for consumers, stifle innovation, close off business opportunity for independent repair shops, create unnecessary electronic waste, delay timely repairs, and undermine resiliency. As digital devices continue to become an essential part of navigating daily life, fighting to protect people's right to repair their own products is essential. At the FTC, we've heard about how people's right to repair their own products can even be a matter of life and death. We've heard from healthcare workers in hospitals worried that they would be unable to fix a ventilator because a manufacturer was seeking to deny access to repair it. We've also heard from farmers relying on tractors and other equipment about how repair restrictions have led to spoiled crops and missing out on critical income. Makers of equipment and devices are often incentivized to restrict repair so that they can extract recurring revenue or induce new purchases, rather than allow families and businesses to reap the benefits of an open and competitive repair market. We also hear some manufacturers defend repair restrictions, claiming that they're needed for safety or security reasons. The FTC has found, though, that all too often these claims are backed by limited evidence. Accordingly, the FTC has committed itself to using all of our enforcement and policy tools to fight for people's right to repair their own products. We've brought a set of enforcement actions combating unlawful repair restrictions, including against motorcycle manufacturer Harley-Davidson, grill maker Weber, and the manufacturer of Westinghouse outdoor power equipment, MWE Investments. Over the past year, there's been a groundswell of right to repair bills introduced in a whole set of states, and the FTC has been grateful for the opportunity to provide input and assistance on several of these efforts. We welcome the opportunity to work with state and federal legislators that are championing right to repair legislation. And recently, our staff testified before a California State Senate committee considering a bill that would create a right to repair for several types of consumer products. We were thrilled to see that bill signed into law earlier this month. I'd like to give a special thanks to President Biden for his clear-eyed leadership on this issue, to state policymakers for their critical work, and to the independent repair community and advocates for being such vigorous champions of this work. The FTC will continue to activate all of our authorities to fight unlawful repair restrictions, and we stand ready to support state and federal policymakers to further codify protections for people's right to repair. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much, Chair Khan. Now I'd love to turn to Deputy Administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency, Janet McCabe, to talk about the environmental benefits of increasing repairability.
Thank you so much, Hannah, and thanks to the White House for organizing this convening. I can tell I'm going to learn a lot today. I also want to thank President Biden for his leadership on promoting competition, for bringing people together on this issue, all around the right to repair. Right to repair increases competition, keeps money in consumers' pockets, and helps the environment by creating less waste and helping in efforts to address climate change. By allowing consumers to have equipment or devices repaired, they get to keep using them longer, putting off the cost of replacement, but saving valuable resources and reducing our climate impacts. So let me be a little bit more specific. For example, when your relatively new mobile phone stops holding as much charge, you want to be able to replace the battery and not have to buy a brand new phone. While that may not be exactly what the manufacturer wants you to do, they certainly make it easy to buy a new phone every single year. It's better for your wallet and for the environment to hold on to the one you have for as long as you can. And it's not just your consumer devices. Right to repair is extremely important for our agriculture and farming communities as well. That's why earlier this year in August, Administrator Regan sent a letter to the National Farmers Union reiterating our strong support for right to repair provisions and saying that the Environmental Protection Agency believes that barriers to the proper repair and maintenance of non-road equipment is harmful to the environment. We support efforts to ensure that independent repair is allowable, provided such efforts continue to clearly prohibit illegal tampering of emissions control systems. Keeping these products in use longer saves both the resources needed to make a new product and the energy used in mining materials and in manufacturing. This is good for combating climate change because it helps reduce emissions of pollutants that contribute to climate change, and it helps preserve critical minerals for other important uses like electric vehicles, solar panels, and other clean energy devices that also help to reduce the burning of fossil fuels. According to the International Association of Electronics Waste, people across the globe threw away. At the Environmental Protection Agency, we've been looking closely at consumer electronics, like laptops, ones that contain lithium-ion batteries, to see how we can support increased repairability, as well as recycling and recovering of those critical minerals. Extending the life of devices made with critical minerals and making recycling easier and cheaper can help manage our demand for those minerals, lower our carbon footprint, and encourage circularity. Through work directed by the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, we're developing voluntary labeling guidelines for batteries intended to promote battery recycling. Battery labels can support the right to repair by providing information about battery specifications and characteristics. By designing for repairability, recycling should increase. A prime example is electronic devices powered by lithium-ion batteries. Electronics or other devices with difficult to remove batteries often end up in the regular garbage or curbside recycling with the batteries still inside. As we show in our analysis of lithium-ion battery fires in waste management and recycling, that's a long title for a report, these devices with batteries are causing numerous and sometimes devastating fires among our waste handling and recycling facilities. When batteries in consumer devices are easy to remove, users get the benefits of keeping the devices working longer, waste is reduced, and when the battery is ready to be recycled, it can be easily removed and dropped off at a battery collection site for safe management until it is recycled. This is an approach we recommend for everyone managing electronics at the end of their life. Right to repair can be a win-win-win for everyone by keeping electronics in use longer, making it easier to recycle at the end of life, and strengthening our economy. Thank you so much for attending today, and back to you, Hannah.
Thanks so much, Deputy Administrator McCabe. Next up, I'd love to turn to California Assemblymember Buffy Wicks, who represents the East Bay and played an integral role in passing a landmark consumer electronics and appliances right to repair bill that was signed into law just last month. Assemblymember Wicks, let's turn to you to hear about that major win for consumers.
Thanks, Hannah, and thanks everyone for joining the Zoom today. As mentioned, my name is Buffy Wicks. I represent the beautiful East Bay in the Oakland, Berkeley, Richmond area in the California legislature. And I'm a co-author of SB 244 and worked closely with our lead author, who couldn't be here today, Senator Susan Eggman, on the California Right to Repair bill. And her leadership for years on this issue has been just incredible. And I was excited to partner with her this year on this bill. Earlier this month, Governor Gavin Newsom signed this bill into law, and it covers the repair for consumer electronics and major appliances. This bill will make the parts, tools, documentation, and software needed for repair accessible to independent repair shops and to consumers at a fair and reasonable price. In California, we've already had laws that say, based on the value of the product, most consumer electronics and appliance manufacturers must make repair parts and tools available for either 3 or 7 years. And many folks accomplish this through their own first-party or authorized repair networks. So what we wanted to do here is make sure that our regulated independent repair shops are not left out of this really important market. As we've become more dependent on technology in our everyday lives, and I know I am, and even as simple appliances have become internet connected with increasing complexity, the result of that really is that we've conceded a lot of our ownership rights, I think, that we used to cherish. And so consumer products and appliances also just don't seem to be made the same way that they used to be. And while we're not necessarily mandating quality of the product, we are making sure that there is access to the stuff you need to repair your product if something goes wrong. Because with that access comes more choice. on how and where to get your stuff fixed. And we know we can make it easier and more affordable as well. We know that limiting access to parts, tools, and documentation makes repair less accessible, more costly, and potentially more dangerous. You know, we struggled to get traction on this issue for many years, but with the engagement of President Biden, the Federal Trade Commission, and with the leadership of lawmakers in Minnesota, Colorado, and New York successfully passing these bills, it gave us the momentum we really needed. And, you know, I know in California, we like to say, as California goes, so goes the nation, but I will give it up to Minnesota, Colorado, New York on their leadership here on this one. We also had a huge support coalition, which initially included environmental advocates, consumer advocates, and repair shops. You know, and as we moved through the legislative process, we saw a lot of support from local governments, from school districts, and even major manufacturers like Apple and HP. You know, that support was critical to getting our bill passed and illustrates just how broad of a coalition support is for right to repair. We should continue to work to strengthen these provisions and to pass a national right to repair law. For those of you in Congress listening to this, national right to repair law, so folks across the country can enjoy the benefits that our bill will bring Californians. You know, fundamentally, right to repair is about protecting and empowering consumers, about addressing really important climate and environmental issues, and also supporting our small businesses. It's a bit of a trifecta. So I want to really personally thank President Biden on his leadership and everyone at the White House, our regulatory agencies for all their work in this space, and look forward to that national right to repair law. Back to you, Hannah.
Thank you, Assemblymember Wicks, for all your leadership in this area. Next, I'm going to turn to Brian Nauman, who's a vice president on Apple. Apple endorsed that landmark California legislation and now is committed to making the California law their standard nationwide, and is also calling for Congress to take action. Brian, over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Hannah. Apple appreciates the opportunity to participate in today's event and welcomes the leadership of President Biden and the administration in helping to forge a national consensus on the intertwined issues of product repairability, durability, and environmental sustainability. We're glad to appear alongside state leaders, including California Assemblymember Buffy Wicks and Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison, with whom we're working collaboratively. Apple also supports a uniform federal law that balances repairability with product integrity, data security, usability, and physical safety. Apple designs its products with the consumer in mind and prioritizes protecting consumer safety, privacy, and security. Now, today's discussion is about a product owner's right to repair. However, we should not lose sight of the ultimate goal, which is product longevity. Designing for longevity incorporates durability, repairability, and ongoing support. Durability is essential because the very best repair is, quite frankly, the repair that's never needed. However, when a repair is needed, Apple has taken significant steps to expand options for consumers to repair their devices, which we know is good for consumers' budgets and good for the environment. Most recently, our latest iPhone models feature a new internal frame that makes it easier to repair damaged back glass, and it significantly reduces the repair cost. Along with increasing the durability and repairability of our products, we have worked to extend the options consumers have when their devices do need a repair. In 2016, we expanded our authorized repair provider program by more than 1,000 locations, meaning more businesses could access Apple's repair assets, such as genuine repair parts, tools, diagnostics, and manuals. In 2019, we further expanded our offerings to include the Independent Repair Provider Program, which grants repair providers of all sizes access to these same resources, and it also gives them the option to use genuine Apple parts or other parts. With this expansion, there are now over 100,000 active technicians across our repair channels. And most recently, Apple introduced self-service repair, which provides anyone with manuals and access to parts and tools for most iPhone and Mac products manufactured in 2022 and afterwards. In that spirit, we were pleased to offer our support, our public support, for California's recently enacted Right to Repair Act. California's new law will help ensure that consumers and independent repair businesses alike have the resources available to safely repair their devices in a manner that does not compromise their privacy or data security. We intend to honor California's new repair provisions across the United States. Apple also believes that consumers and businesses would benefit from a national law that balances repairability with product integrity, usability, and physical safety. We believe that a uniform federal repair law should do the following: maintain privacy, data, and device security features which help to thwart theft. Ensure transparency for consumers about the type of parts used in a repair. Apply prospectively to allow manufacturers to focus on building new products that can comply with the proposals. And finally, create a strong national standard that benefits consumers across the US and reduces the confusion created by potentially conflicting state approaches. To summarize, we appreciate the work happening across the states, and we think there would be real value in establishing a national standard. Thank you again for the chance to address today's gathering.
Thanks so much, Brian. Next, we're going to hop over to the state of Colorado, where our next two speakers' work together really underscores the bipartisan nature of this issue. Representative Titone and Weinberg reached across the aisle to pass the first major right to repair law for agricultural equipment in the country. I'll turn to the two of them to share more, starting with you, Representative Titone.
Very much. My name is Brianne Titone, and I'm a member of the Colorado House of Representatives since 2019. I believe that everyone should have the right to fix their own things, and that includes having access to parts, instructions, and tools needed to do so. I started my legislative right to repair journey by introducing a comprehensive multi-product bill in 2021, and that was met with opposition coming from all directions. In 2022, I decided to focus on wheelchairs and introduced a bipartisan bill. These critically important tools are everything to a disabled person whose quality of life depends on their mobility. Waiting days, weeks, or even months for a repair is not only disruptive, but can have disastrous health effects on a person. We made a strong case for the right to repair that my colleagues rallied around. When it passed, it was the first right to repair bill signed into law in the US in over a decade. And I encourage Congress to introduce a national right to repair policy for motorized wheelchairs. This past session, I teamed up across the aisle with Representative Weinberg to tackle agricultural equipment. Similar to wheelchairs, highly complex software-driven machinery is essential to modern farming. There are many things that are already out of control for farmers: weather, pests, climate change. Fixing their equipment shouldn't be one of them. Getting timely repair is necessary to avoid crop damage or loss, which can cost tens of thousands of dollars in revenue. Our law gives farmers more options to make quicker repairs. Our bill faced a unique situation where manufacturers attempted to derail right to repair initiatives with the promise of voluntary efforts to provide more access to repair. In the end, we knew that we had to make a fair and thoughtful law that delivered farmers what they needed to keep their equipment running during the critical times, also while protecting manufacturers' intellectual property. We were highly inclusive throughout this step-by-step process to ensure we didn't miss any details and also to head off any unintended consequences. After dozens of attempts by other states over many years, Colorado succeeded in delivering for hardworking farmers and created a great law that's an example for others to use. I'm very proud of this policy and hope that Congress can pass the Agricultural Right to Repair Act for the rest of the country. Bringing a national solution to this issue will give farmers across the country the rights that they deserve. Having officials at the highest level, like President Biden, to talk about the importance of right to repair has been instrumental to bringing the needed attention to this issue and has given us the momentum to get more accomplished in Colorado and hopefully someday in your state as well. Thanks very much.
Thanks so much. Representative Weinberg, I'd love to hear from you about your involvement with this issue. I think you're still on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Great. Thank you, Hannah, and thank you to the White House for organizing this. And of course, thank you to my colleague from across the aisle, Representative Brainard. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ron Weinberg, and I am the Republican representative from Colorado House District 51, specifically the city of Loveland. I support manufacturers and their rights of the products that they produce. This extends to their right to set their own warranties that they can honor. Last legislative session here in Colorado, this became a point of contention with House Bill 1011, the Consumer Right to Repair Agricultural Equipment. When a product fails during its promised lifetime, businesses offer warranties, a guarantee to right their wrong. This is true with nearly any machine. The issue is here in Colorado, we have farm machinery that prematurely fails, and the manufacturer promises to solve the issue since it's covered under warranty, but they do not have ample personnel to do it in a timely manner. There is no waiting around in farming. Crops do not wait for service technicians. The weather does not pause for delays. The ripeness of fruits and vegetables do not go on hold when equipment fails. This can cost farmers tens and thousands of dollars per day if they are unable to do their job. Oftentimes, the fix to their equipment is something they could do themselves, but manufacturers didn't give them access to the necessary items, such as instruction manuals, to do so. And if they do, they will void their warranty for any future, possibly more serious issues. This was a predicament many Coloradoan farmers found themselves in. The shortage of technicians forced them to either void their warranty or wait days until a technician could arrive. This law gives farmers the right to fix their own equipment without voiding their warranty. It will make a critical difference in the lives of farmers in Colorado, and consumers across the country deserve the same benefits if their state is facing the same issues.
Thank you, Representative Weinberg. Next, we're going to go to Danny Wood, a farmer in Colorado who has personally experienced exactly some of those issues and is going to tell us about what this law means on the ground. Thanks, Danny.
Hello, my name is Danny Wood. I'm the District 1 Director for the Rocky Mountain Farmers Union, and I own and operate an independent farm in Peets, Colorado. Today, I'd like to talk about an experience I had after I bought a new combine harvester and why I think it shows the need for a strong right to repair. The first day we went to harvest wheat with it, a message came up on the monitor saying there was a problem with the diesel exhaust fluid system. We called the servicing dealer and were told it would be 5 days before they could come look at it. When harvesting your crop is your sole source of income, this is completely unacceptable. When the technician finally arrived, he found it was a cracked set of tubes that was keeping the engine from running properly. I asked if he had the tubes to replace and repair the machine and was told no. I asked if they had the tubes at their dealership and was told no. I asked if he could come right back after they got the tubes and install them, which was going to be 4 days before they came in. And I was told no, that I'd have to reschedule another service call after they came in. That would have been another 5-day wait for a total of 14 days that the combine would have been sitting still. These new combines can harvest 200 acres per day. Multiply that by 50 bushels per acre for 10,000 bushels a day. Multiply that by $8 per bushel, and that is a loss of $80,000 per day. A severe storm could come in any day and wipe out your whole crop, so we can't risk waiting around. Ultimately, we went out and bought and installed the tubes ourselves, risking the warranty of the machine. Farmers are not people that like to rely on others. We like to fix things ourselves. The right to repair will finally give us the ability to do that and save farmers thousands of dollars and valuable time. I'm pleased that President Biden has been so vocal on this issue and made it a priority to strengthen the right to repair. I testified in front of the Colorado House and Senate Agriculture Committees in support of our Colorado law, and I think the policy is great. But I feel strongly that we need to make this a national policy to drive the point home and make sure manufacturers follow the letter of the law as intended. Making a strong right to repair the standard across the whole country will be good for farmers everywhere. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Danny. We appreciate you sharing your experience with us today. In the last year, we've also seen landmark legislation in New York and Minnesota, in addition to the California and Colorado laws we've heard about today. Our next speaker, Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison, was a key champion of the recently enacted Minnesota legislation on electronic devices and will also be its lead enforcer. Attorney General Ellison, over to you to tell us more about how Minnesota is making it easier and cheaper for consumers to fix things they own.
Hey friends, good to see everybody and really great to hear all of the important testimonies from everybody. Giving people the right to repair is a good idea whose time really has come. This year, Minnesota passed the Digital Fair Repair Act, the broadest right to repair act in the nation. We believe it allows consumers, independent businesses like farms to fix phones, computers, and other equipment more easily, and requires manufacturers to provide more tools for and instructions on repairing the devices. As we work to pass this bill, and we really did put our shoulders into it, we heard from a diverse coalition across Minnesota from all over our state, laying out the reasons why right to repair was so important. First, it's good for business. We heard from a number of small business owners who are part of a device and equipment reuse sector that accounts for over 45,000 jobs in Minnesota. That's a lot of jobs in Minnesota, giving them the tools that they need to better serve consumers. And it helps strengthen a sector that generates $5 billion a year in Minnesota. Also, it's good for the environment. We heard from county waste management agencies, recycling advocates who share the same message. The best way to manage waste is to prevent it from in the first place. Making it easier for people to repair their devices means there's less likely to just toss them out. We know that electronic waste is damaging the environment when not handled right, and we know that in our rural communities, they're always grappling with the cost of managing their waste. Right to repair addresses both concerns. Third, it's good for people. My office strives to help Minnesotans afford their lives and live with dignity, safety, and respect. Bottom line, we can get a few more years out of the laptops and the dishwasher, and it saves folks money. We heard from so many people, regular folks, business folks, farm folks, all kind of folks, rural, suburban, urban, all colors, all cultures, all faiths, who are just looking for more options to keep their devices running without having to travel hours or wait a long time. And that's really critical. We heard from small business owners who have to wait for weeks or even months for the simplest repairs. And we also heard that there is a group of entrepreneurs just waiting to open up a repair sector, which is another area of businesses that we used to remember years ago, but is just waiting to really flourish now. Right to repair bills break the cycle of monopolistic, anti-competitive control that a handful of corporations could hold over people's equipment. Breaking that cycle means more competition, more options, lower costs. So my office was proud to advocate for Minnesota's Digital Fair Repair Act, and we'll be proud to help enforce it. New York, Connecticut, California, Colorado, Minnesota, and others have passed right to repair legislation, and I hope other states do it. And I hope, as many others have said, that we have a national solution as well. Only thing I'll say about the national solution, make sure that we got a parallel dual track, state and federal. Teamwork makes the dream work. And a big shout out to my friend, Tom Perez. Thank you very much.
Well said, Attorney General Ellison. Thank you. Next up, we're going to hear from one of those small businesses in Minnesota about the importance of the right to repair to them. Our next speaker is Heather Walsh, the CEO of Repowered, a company that repairs and refurbishes electronics and recycles electronic waste. Heather, over to you.
Thank you, Hannah. And thank you. Thank you, Attorney General Ellison. I share your energy for the work that's been done in Minnesota. My name is Heather Walsh, and I'm the CEO at Repowered in Minneapolis, St. Paul, Minnesota. Repowered provides fair chances for people, planet, and technology through electronic recycling, repair, and refurbishing. With our 18-month work readiness program, we offer job training opportunities for community members facing barriers to employment, such as experience with incarceration. Repowered gives electronics a second run and the people who restore them a fair chance. It is an exciting time to be part of Right to Repair movement with President Biden's strong call for stronger right to repair laws and the recent laws passed in many states, including Minnesota, just this year. Now, although it did take a long time for us to pass a right to repair law, it took several years in Minnesota. Like phones and tablets and laptops for reuse is essential to our model. By repairing and reselling electronics, we reduce greenhouse gases, we create jobs, we bridge the digital divide. Our online sales and our retail store create access to high quality, affordable refurbished technology for students, families, small businesses, nonprofits, and more. Electronic waste continues to be the fastest growing waste stream in the world. And over the past decade, Repowered has processed over 45 million pounds of electronics. But the scale of our impact is directly related to our ability to repair non-working devices. Our professional repair technicians have only been able to repair around 10% of recycled electronics, due in part to a previous lack of access to tools, manuals, and parts at fair and reasonable prices. With greater access, we can increase that percentage significantly, taking electronic waste out of the environment and giving more options to consumers. That's why we're so excited about the Minnesota Right to Repair law. For us at Repowered, the Minnesota Right to Repair law is the beginning of the conversation. There is much more to do on the legislative front, including encouraging manufacturers to innovate for repairability. Because of this, there remains a need for a comprehensive national right to repair law. Together, let's power forward. Thank you, Hannah.
Thanks so much, Heather. Last but certainly not least, we're going to hear from Donald Jones, Senior Vice President of Allstate. As an insurance company, Allstate has unique insight into the importance of a strong right to repair for vehicles. Donald, I'll turn it to you to tell us about how promoting the right to repair can save costs both through independent repair services and through cheaper aftermarket parts. Over to you.
Thank you, Hannah, and good afternoon, and thank you for the privilege of participating in today's event. More importantly, thank you to the Biden administration and the U.S. Congress for their consistent focus on unfair repair restrictions and consumer rights. Having been on the front lines of this issue for nearly a decade, Allstate is thrilled to see this bipartisan cause picking up more and more support, including direct advocacy from President Biden and Chair Khan. My name is Don Jones, and I'm a Senior Vice President in the Claims Organization here at Allstate. With 31 years of experience in insurance, I can speak firsthand about the trends I've seen with respect to repair restrictions facing our industry and our customers. At Allstate, our claims team is on the front lines working with customers every day to honor our promise of protection when disaster hits, whether that be a storm or an auto accident. And just to talk about a few trends, claims manages the entire repair process from start to finish. And we believe customers deserve better when it comes to available replacement parts and flexibility as to where they want to repair their vehicle. One way to increase consumer choice is to bolster aftermarket part manufacturing. Aftermarket parts, including fenders, bumper covers, and quarter panels, have long been used to repair cars and are typically much less expensive than original equipment manufacturer, or as they're called, OEM parts, with no difference in quality or safety. We found that customers saved an average of $530 on front-end repairs to a 2018 Chevy Malibu and roughly $1,200 on repairs for a 2020 Toyota RAV4 when utilizing available aftermarket parts instead of OEM parts. Unfortunately, the manufacturing of aftermarket parts has been severely limited due to OEM use of design patents on basic cosmetic car parts. The good news is there is a solution. Allstate and our partners at the Car Coalition support the SMART Act. This is strongly bipartisan legislation, would allow for the use or sale of matching replacement parts after 2.5 years versus the current 15 years. Just to put this in perspective, the average age of an automobile today is about 12 and a half years. Put simply, the Bipartisan SMART Act will provide customers with increased options and choice, saving them money and potentially getting their vehicle repaired more quickly. And just to talk about a few trends, we have spotted at Allstate impacts customers and small businesses have. It is increasingly difficult for independent repair shops to service newer, more technologically advanced cars without the same wireless access to car data that dealers have. A recent study found that consumers spend 36% more on repairs at dealerships than independent repair facilities. The Repair Act, another bill with broad bipartisan support, would promote consumer choice by allowing car owners to wirelessly access and securely share their own vehicle-generated data with independent repair facilities of their choosing. The Repair Act has 43 co-sponsors in the U.S. House of Representatives and continues to expand its bipartisan support. In conclusion, thank you again for this opportunity to speak on behalf of the customers and communities we serve here at Allstate. And please consider Allstate to be a resource as you determine appropriate action on these important issues. Hannah, I will turn it back to you.
Thanks so much, Don. And thank you to all of our speakers and all of the viewers who tuned in today. I hope the wide array of voices we heard from here demonstrates just how broad the coalition of support is for the right to repair and just how much progress we've made across the country since President Biden endorsed the right to repair at the outset of his administration. The wins we've heard about today are the result of tireless work by state legislators, advocates, small businesses, and consumers who have rallied around this issue and shared their own stories of how our right to repair has affected their lives. The Biden-Harris administration looks forward to continuing to work with all of you to make sure we can build on this momentum to bring stronger right to repair policies to consumers across the country. Thanks again to everyone for joining us today.